Hi, you guys. So today I find myself with a bunch of leftover jalapenos. I'm still growing them outside, but I've made batches of tomatillo salsa, salsa verde, pico de gallo. I still have canned hot peppers from previous years. So today we are going to try a new recipe to me. And this is called, people usually refer to it as Cowboy candy or candied jalapenos, but we're putting more than just jalapenos in there. It's basically a simple syrup with some vinegar and hot peppers. And I think it looks wonderful. So we need about 3 pounds jalapenos, some vinegar, sugar, turmeric. You could put that in or leave it out, it's for color. Celery seed, granulated garlic, or you could use fresh garlic, and ground cayenne pepper. I'm not sure what the purpose of that is. Somebody in a previous video said it was for a smoky flavor, but I have a smoky turmeric, so I might use that instead, or in place of the cayenne. I don't think a hot pepper mix needs more pepper, but we'll see. Also, it calls for the apple cider vinegar, and as we discussed in a recent video, all the ACV I have, even though I'm using this old bottle, is mine. I've made it myself. I'm unable to test the acidity of it right now. I have ordered a device so that I can test it, so I'm going to put a splash of that in, but mostly I'm going to go with white vinegar. And you can see our tomato, Senorita Verde, is turning into Senorita Roja. She was in one of my last videos. Isn't she funny? But she's been all green, and alas, she's turning into a red tomato. So she's going to oversee again. So we're going to get started. I'm going to spin you ever so slowly. I did cleaned my jars. I'm going to use the small 4 ounces for this. A few different styles. I love these. These are the cutest. But they're clean. They're washed right now. I don't want to run a whole dishwasher just to reheat these. So what I'm going to do is take them and do a pro tip. I'm going to fill up that tray, and I'm going to pop them in this oven that is heating up right now to a low temperature. I'm going to keep them around 200, and as I need the jars, I'll just pull them out of the oven. So, there you go. I'm going to do that right now. So the recipe says it makes about 9 half pints. I don't know how this happens, but often I end up with more than the recipe calls for, and it does say that some of the extra sauce can be canned up too. So I'm looking at 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 would be 9.5. So I'm going to put a couple extra, and I'm also going to throw in a pint. So we'll throw this in the oven and get this all heated up. Now remember, the rules have changed surrounding jars and sterilization prior to canning. Now the jars just need to be clean, because anything that's water bathed or pressure canned for 10 minutes or longer, the jar, the inside, the outside, the lids, the rings will all sterilize in the canner along with the food. So we don't need to be as anal as we used to be back in the day. I would never be touching these with my clean hands. I would be using a tongs or something, but the rules have changed, and that's a wonderful change to see. So into the oven they go. So the recipe calls for 3 pounds. I definitely want to make sure that I get all my pimentos and some of these red jalapenos in there that I've grown here. So I'm up to 1.4 pounds, and then I'm going to top it off with these extra jalapenos that I bought from a local Mexican market. They are beautiful and they're wonderful, but they're, I hate to say this out loud, but they're like American, hot, warm, weenie warm, not very hot. They need more forte, they need more strength. Like these will blow your socks off. These are, you know, anyway, so I'm going to top them off. All right, perfect. 3 pounds and 0.5, so we are on schedule. All right, so I'm setting to cut the jalapenos into, it says to 1/8 to a 1/4 inch rounds. So I've got my gloves, my cutting board, my sharp cleaver that I like to use. So I'm going to do this and then put the end result into there. And then I always like to have a bowl around for the discards. If you are a seed keeper and you want to keep seeds, this is really the best time to do that. So when you see some peppers that look especially beautiful and you want to keep the seeds from them, do it while you're doing this process. I do have another video on that. I will either put a card up or link it or something so you can see how easy, but basically it's just removing the seeds, throwing them on a paper towel that you've written out the name of the pepper on along with the date, and then just letting them dry in an area. So this is just a quick tip when you're in the middle of cutting peppers or something and you need to do something else, like turn your audiobook on or turn your camera off or on. I would suggest getting some of these old produce bags and putting your hands in them so you can touch things and then just pull them off and get back to your peppery hands. Trying to pull this glove off and then putting it back on again is nearly impossible without getting oils all over you. So anyway, just a quick mid slice tip. Okay, you guys, so just about done here, but I thought for a moment that you may not realize what I'm doing when I slice the top of the pepper off. I do this with bell peppers and just about every pepper. Some people just throw this away, but I think there's just too much goodness on there to throw it away. So I actually pick the pieces off and I add it to whatever it is I'm making. Sometimes I'll cut this middle part out, but it's really thin. It doesn't bother me. And here's another example. I'll do this with any kind of pepper, bell pepper, serrano, jalapeno. This is a pimento, because it gives you extra, and you went through all the heartache of growing these things, so you might as well get the benefit, right? So I ended up using my mandolin. I thought it was a lot easier, and it gives me these really consistent cuts, right? So because using the guard is kind of a pain, and you know, safety first, I have my non-cut glove on, and I actually have my rubber glove underneath. So I've been using that. So far so good, right? I'm almost done with that. So I'll link these gloves. They're really inexpensive, and the mandolin is a Borner, B-O-R-N-E-R, but the O has a double dots over it, so is that Borner? Anyway, it's German. I probably had this for 10 years, and it is sharp as hell. I use it a lot, and it's easy to use. So get a good glove like that, wear rubber gloves, get a mandolin if you like, and yeah, so in a minute we're going to start the, what are we going to start? We're going to start the brine. Alright, you guys, so I've got my simple syrup together. 6 cups of white sugar, 2 cups of apple cider vinegar, and my husband just brought home some apple cider vinegar from the store that we know is 5% acidity, so we're using that. So 2 cups ACV, 6 cups of sugar. We used a half a teaspoon of paprika. I'm substituting that for the cayenne. This is a smoky paprika. Half a teaspoon of turmeric and half a teaspoon of celery seeds. So we're going to bring this to a boil. Then we're going to add in the hot peppers and boil that all together, and then we'll get to canning. So we've let it simmer for 5 minutes now. It's time to add all the hot peppers. Slowly and carefully, as that is boiling lava in there. Sugar, mostly sugar. Alright, so now we're going to mix this up into the syrup and let this all boil for 5 minutes. Alright, so we're just about ready to start jarring the jalapenos, but I wanted to show you guys a couple things. First off, I didn't put the garlic granules into this mixture as it suggested because I wanted to use real garlic. And so what I did is I smashed it to release some of the allicin for health benefits, and so I can eat the cowboy candy and say, oh, it's healthy for me. So I'm going to put 1 in each jar, and if I have enough to jar some of the liquid left over again, I'm going to put 1 of those in that jar as well. So what we need to do when the jars come out, and I'm going to do it pretty quickly, so I just wanted to show you, is I'm going to jar each of the jars with just the jalapenos. And then after all the jalapenos are out of the mixture, I'll pour it into something like this, and I'll top up each jar that way. So I don't have to worry about getting scalded by the lava sugar water that's in here, and makes life a little easier, and every jar gets about the same. So that's why you're going to see me doing it that way. Anyway, this is almost ready to start boiling, so I'm going to get the jars going, and after I fill a jar, I'll go ahead. I've got, the rack in the counter up high out of the water, so I will just sit each one in there so they'll remain hot, and I'll go back and forth until they're all done. So I'm going to put this on super speed. Anyway, I'm assuming you know how to can already, but there you go. Alright, so I have extra syrup left over. I have a lot of garlic left over because I forgot to put it in the damn jars. And instead of having, 9.5 pints, I have 5 pints, and, or 5 half pints, and 1 that's almost only liquid, only juice. I'm going to see how deep that is. If it's deep enough to put this in, I'll go ahead and throw it in there, but I don't think it is, so well, let's give it a shot and see. Okay, it's barely deep enough for the quart, so or the pint, so I'm going to leave this quart out. I'll put a lid and a ring on it. I need to reprocess a couple things anyway, so I will just do all those together. I throw these in there, but they're still too cold. So while that's boiling away, I will get these ready, and when that stuff comes out, I'll put these other things in. So anyway, that's how you do Cowboy candy. You need to let it sit on the shelf for at least 2 weeks, up to a couple of months before you start snacking on it. And yeah, so let me know if you guys have any questions. Thanks for watching.